Thank you for joining everybody to our new webinar that is about the idle time. We will be talking about idle to impact, turning downtime into performance. Thank you everybody for joining in today. I hope you have had a great start for the day. Moving forward, we will be looking at the agenda. The agenda for today is what is idle time? Understanding the reason that or the thing idle time, because it's a big elephant in the room for most of the people, most of the managers and companies to understand that whether this is really an idle time or whether it is just a hint of an idle time and what exactly it is. Then we also would understand the root causes for idle time. There are many root causes for idle time which are based on business, which are based on employees. So we will be looking at both the aspects of it. Then the business impact of idle time, that what are the impacts that idle time makes on the businesses. And then we will be looking at best strategies to tackle idle time in workplaces, along with looking at certain case studies on to how have we in the past or present addressed this particular issue for various organizations. And then we will be opening up for the live Q&A session, which will be like, live questions that any of you may ask, and then we will try to answer them. Some of them that we may not be able to answer due to time constraints, we will talk about them later, one-on-one with you on an email or a conversation. Moving forward, let us look at understanding what idle time is. Now, idle time is of two kinds majorly. Okay. First of all, idle time doesn't mean always that a person is not working. Idle time may also mean that a person is working. It's just that there is some kind of a distraction or something which is impacting that particular work, a rhythm that has been broken. Now there are two major reasons why this thing happens. One is because of some things which happen in the organization, and then there are some things which happen with the employee. Let's break them down and look at them. From the organization perspective, it often happens that there are delays in task assignments or poor workload planning or sharing. So what happens in task assignments is that if I'm one of your colleague, I will be having lesser tasks or lesser work as compared to you. Considering my tenure or my role in the company, I may have less or more work as compared to the same person who's of the same tenure and designation. And it impacts if a person is having a lot of workload, then they will be more busy. And it also impacts if in case there is lesser workload, they will be less busy. So that may translate into idle time. Then there is dependency on approvals or cross team inputs. Sometimes it happens that, there are a lot of, approvals which have to be taken. Because of that, there are times when there is an idle time and there are people who wait for those approvals. System or infrastructure downtime. So downtime always happens because of some or the other reason. So that is where the idle time would also come. Inefficient process flows or bureaucracy. A lot of approvals, lot of engagements on one single thing, which can be very straightforward. At times, organizations try to, delve into that particular, smart pattern, but it takes a lot of time, which impacts on the idle time. Then there is lack of clear KPIs or role clarity. So there are KPIs which get affected because it is not having a clear clarity between the users or between the employees, that how do they have to perform certain tasks or certain duties or KPIs or the role. Now, these are the organization things, okay, which impact. What are the employee things? Let's look at them. Extended personal breaks or frequent distractions. Somewhere or the other, there are people who take extended breaks, frequent distractions keep happening, procrastination and deliberate task delays. Many times it happens that some people think that, no, I'll do this not today, maybe tomorrow, not right now, maybe later. And that is where procrastination is one of the major reasons. And deliberate task delays is where I'm talking to a colleague, having a very jazzy conversation, something spicy or gossiping, don't want to pay attention towards my work. And that is what brings it in. And then there is misuse of work hours for personal browsing. Mobiles, technology today is the biggest reason of distraction between employees and everybody, right? You go to a shop, you would find people, browsing their phone. So that's where the point is, that personal browsing in during the working hours is really a big idle time reason. Lack of initiative and self-led roles. There are so many roles wherein people are, supposed to be self-led. They are supposed to be taking care of their own stuff, and they should be in a position to, design their work or craft their work in a way that they are super efficient. However, they have some kind of a initiative gaps. They don't know how to begin, what to do, etc. And then there is one major thing and very interesting thing, which is faking presence while being inactive. So there are times when people would like to, keep something heavy on the keyboard, or just come, and after 5 minutes they will just move their mouse and go back again, have a coffee or extended break or something, or somebody else is doing that on their behalf, which happens in in-office setups, which happens in remote setups everywhere. So these are certain things why the idle time happens. Idle time can further be defined into productive and non-productive, which means that all the websites and applications that people access while they are working on the system, you can understand that whether this particular time that is coming under idle is on the productive or non-productive. Okay, which means that any work related website and application that I'm accessing and I'm working on, and if there is an idle time, then you will be able to understand, if you're my manager, that whether this is really, really idle time, which is unproductive, or this is productive. Okay. Because there are emails which you shoot. Just before you shoot the email, you would like to proofread the subject, the content of the email to make it more intelligent, to make a better impact. So that may consume a little bit of idle time. So that is where idle time is not always bad, but it is one of the elephant in the room. And why I call it as elephant in the room is because there is a swift or a slow, tiny, miny discussion around it, and confusion around it. And that's what we are trying to solve over here today. Moving forward, let's look at the root causes of idle time. So we've broken this into 3, 4 slides into, like, two specific to the company and two will be specific to the employee, so that we can have a better understanding. So lack of training or skill mismatch. I'm not trained enough. I'm not skilled for that job. So I will waste my time into learning it or trying to understand how to do it. And there is nobody to monitor me, nobody to tell me that, okay, how to do it. Then there is overhiring or poor resource forecasting. I was doing it, 10 more people come in, 5 are consumed, 5 are doing it appropriately, but from 6 onwards, there is not enough work to do. So they are sitting idle. And while we are trying to share the load with them, the rest are also getting idle. So that is where a proper resource forecasting is absolutely the necessity. Now let us switch to the employee specific. Lack of motivation or job disengagement. Many people get demotivated for many various reasons, or they have job disengagement because of whatever reasons, and that impacts fear of making mistakes or taking initiative. People are fearful that, oh, my manager will, like, mark me down if I do this, or if I try to do something new. And that is where the problem comes in. They sit idle thinking about it, which again results into procrastination of doing something or deliberately delaying the task because they're too scared to perform them. Moving next is the company specific ineffective onboarding process. Now, when we talk about lack of training or skill mismatch, this also results because of the ineffective onboarding processes. So when a person has been onboarded, that person needs to be trained enough, told enough that what exactly are the roles and responsibilities of that person. It helps into having a better, adoption into the organization and the work profile. Then comes in unrealistic project timelines with gaps between phases. Okay. So you may have a deadline to complete something in 8 days. There is no plan B if it gets completed in 6 days. The next project starts only on the ninth day. What are the 2 days or 2 hours or 2 minutes of that time getting utilized for? So that is one of the reason. Employee specific again, over dependence on managers for direction. There are saying that you should be self independent and self aware and everything, but all most of the times there are times when you are there are many people who are over dependent. So it is always necessary for organizations to observe and understand who needs what kind of a guidance. They have to have that kind of a visibility. Low time management or prioritization skills. So I'm not sure how to manage my time. I waste my time onto certain activity which are not making any sense for me, or not that effective and not that fast enough to meet that particular time frame, and that is where I'm not able to do it. The next is company specific again, inefficient communication channels. Now, there are times when you get any organization will go ahead and say that, okay, this is what has to be done. How is sometimes organizations forget to tell. And that is where efficient communication channels should start happening and inefficiency should be thrown out. Inflexible or overly centralized decision making. Again, the first slide that we saw, this emphasizes on the same point that there should be ways to do things, but overly complicated things delay things, and overly centralized decision making makes a dependency on one or two people onto performing on something, doing something, which again results into idle time. Cannot call it as a employee issue. However, when the employee specific point looks comes into it, we talk about burnout or mental fatigue. There are times when people work extra, they have burnouts, they have mental fatigue, and consciously gaming the system. The same thing that we spoke about, people come, they move the mouse, go back. Okay, or they take an extended break while their colleague is just moving the cursor or pressing something on the keyboard or keeping something heavy on the keyboard. There are so many ways that people try to game the system. They try to cheat, and there is a systematic abuse that happens. So there are so many things. Okay. Now, looking at the next thing, okay, how idle time would impact your organization. What are the impacts? The impacts, according to certain researchers and studies, according to Gallup, employee engagement dropped to 21% last year, costing the global economy $438 billion dollars in lost productivity. Just imagine that. Okay. Now this is just because of so many other things which are coming in between the employee and the work. Okay. There are things which are evolving, technology is evolving, so over dependence on technology is also bad. So this is one of the causes of it. Idle time among US workers costs employers around $100 billion annually, according to a Harvard Business School study. So this is US alone, which is having that kind of an impact. Imagine the globe, right? Moving forward, a study conducted by ResearchGate found that idle time increased boredom, with which led to lower job satisfaction, more counterproductive behavior, and higher turnover intent. So just imagine you have nothing to do, and I have nothing to do. I'll call you, we'll gossip about somebody, we'll talk negative about somebody, the country, and everybody, and the company, and people. And that brings in what? That brings into counterproductive behavior, which again makes people start thinking about switching jobs. The next is idle time inefficiencies in construction alone. That's one of the industries. Alone costs the global economy $1.6 trillion, dollars, 16 times the impact seen in the US alone. So just imagine that impact that is happening globally. Now let us look at those were the impacts, what happened and how it can, play a role into an impact into your organization. Let's look at some of the strategies to eliminate idle time. These are some strategies which I could find and we think that, okay, these may be helpful. Clear goal setting and communication, absolutely necessary. It is really, really important that we need to have that. Define daily, weekly goals clearly and ensuring all team members understand that their responsibilities through regular check ins or stand ups. Okay. Then automation of repetitive or low value tasks. Implement tools to handle tasks like data syncs, status updates, or reports, reducing manual effort and preventing idle bottlenecks. This is the time of automation. Okay. There are a lot of AI tools and a lot of other things. Certain things have to be automated to remove human errors, to remove delays, to remove the idle time that happens, manual interventions which happen, and depend more onto data driven analysis, which enables organizations to take faster decisions. Another thing that we look at is effective break monitoring and feedback system. You go on a break, I go on a break, somebody has to monitor, not necessarily always, but if in case it has been exceeded, and if it is they are getting exceeded on a regular basis for many people, it impacts. So that is where monitoring whether break times are balanced or not and give feedback if patterns of overuse are seen. You always see a pattern. After seeing a pattern, what is the action that you take is upon you, but it is absolutely necessary to have some kind of a visibility onto the pattern, and that is where monitoring system is definitely required on that. Good workload management and task distribution. Regularly review workloads and reassign tasks where necessary to ensure equal management across the team. You understand from a unified system itself that what exactly is happening in the organization, what is happening within a team, who are the people who have already done their work and, sitting idle, distribute the tasks effectively. And you always have one after another task associated, that what is the plan for the day, plan for the week. It always streamlines the processes and helps you into reducing the idle time. Faster decision making and task approvals. So rather than having a lot of bureaucracy around every approval that has to be coming in, it should be fast. There should be certain workflows and which should avoid any delays. Better shift and resource planning. Align shifts and team availability with expected workload to reduce. Now, you know that in the start of the day, there will be people who will be working extra, or there will be certain projects where the customers want information upon. So that is where you can plan it out. The later part of the day can be a little eased. So you can structure, you can see, and how do you see is by having a tool which gives you those indications, those information, that where are your people working and what are the times that they are working effectively, where are the times when they are lazy enough to bring in idle time. Now, let us talk about a tool that can actually enable you to have all these particular things or solutions that we were just talking about. And that tool's name is none other than TimeChamp. What we do, okay? What are the requirements for a tool like that? Real time data gathering, actionable insights and analytics, simplicity and ease of use for managers and employees, scalability and customization, detailed activity visibility and actionable insights again, proactive alerts and notifications, absolutely necessary, privacy and compliance controls. So these are certain things which are absolutely necessary from my point of view for any tool to have that particular solution for any of the organization or a team which is facing issues. Looking at a solution, okay? So meet TimeChamp, your productivity champion. TimeChamp is a powerful time and productivity monitoring software designed to eliminate inefficiencies like idle time through real-time tracking and actionable insights. You can see on the quick, image over here, you can actually see what are the tools that people are using. You can see what are the duration they have been used and the idle time that is there and the percentage of idle time that is there within those tools. It gives you a clear impact analysis onto the usability and the idle time that is happening, and then you can take the relative action, that what exactly you have to do. Is it the training need on those particular tools because of which people will start using them more effectively, or they need to be coached onto how to what exactly is the usability of that tool so that they can see the impact for themselves. So there are so many things that you can look at once you have the visibility on the data. Solving the problem. Now, looking at how do we solve it? We detect idle periods automatically, send idle pop-ups to remind to keep employees focused. So detection is automatic, sending pop-up reminders to employees who are to keep them focused, to let them know that yes, there is, you are idle for a certain period of time. Set thresholds for role specific idle limits. So you can say that it is 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever is the threshold that you would like to keep, because you know that if a person is a researcher, will have to research, read articles, and then go ahead and make some kind of a notation. But understand that 3 minutes or 5 minutes of reading an article is way too good time, right? If it exceeds, then you can have a threshold. Say that after 3 minutes, there should be a pop up, there should be some intimation to this person that yes, they are wasting time, right? So that is where you can do those role specific settings, and it provides you real time insights to spot trends. You can actually see the trends and you can understand where exactly are the lags or where exactly is the gap, so that you can try and see what is the solution to it. Allows easy time off logging for accuracy. So time off, you can just logging, and that will help you to you don't need to do a lot of tasks or a lot of things to log in, that yes, this is what is exactly happening. Highlights process delays and inefficiencies. So any delays which are happening, any inefficiencies which are happening can be highlighted by various reports and various alerts. Support proactive interventions and planning. So there are always two theories, which I was talking to one of the person in the morning itself, and we were talking about being reactive and proactive. What are the things have you do you have to do certain, like by being proactive and by being reactive? Reactive is when you see tsunami coming in and you start running. Proactive is when you see the news and you are ready for it. You're already away from the place. So that is where the thing comes in, that when you see that there are certain gaps in the productivity, there are some idle time which are happening, you have that kind of area of improvement which can be proactive. Key features that TimeChamp provides you: employee productivity analytics, automated idle time detection, idle time alerts and thresholds, customizable report and analytics, automatic timesheet generation, real time employee activity, effective productivity trends, and burnout detection. So, these are some of the key features which TimeChamp provide you. And how does it provide you is by giving you a unified dashboard. So, you don't have to be dependent on to micromanaging people. You just have to look at the dashboard. Dashboard is going to give you all the information. Anybody who's really, really having some gaps in the productivity, having issues in idle time, etc., can be seen on the dashboard. And then you can look for a little bit of a granular information for that specific person to find the gaps and opportunities of improvement. These are not to scrutinize somebody. These are to find opportunities of improvement to ensure that you have more better synergy between the employee and yourself. Looking further, how are we different? What do we do differently? Okay, what sets Time Champ apart? So, intuitive, easy to use dashboard, proven ROI, cost effective, seamless integrations, customizable and scalable. Might have gone to many webinars and many companies say that, right? So how do you actually agree to it? How do you see that yes, yes, this is what the reality is? So and just before I go further, this is where you can see the activity level chart. The activity level chart over here, you can see that in the start of the day, everybody was very energetic, working, 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 and then there was a break. And then after the break, after having a lot of lunch, you just go ahead and see that there is a drop. And then there is a slight pickup in the end of the day, and then there is a drop again. So the point is that these reports, these charts can give you those insights which ideally you will never be able to see until you have time jam. Okay. Now let us look at everything that I spoke about, all these solutions, what sets us different or apart from all the other, situations like these. How do we compete against idle time and these productivity challenges? How do we help organizations? Let's look what organizations have to say. So we've brought three case studies for you to have a look at. Okay. One, there is a company called as Build Right, which talks about the problem. Build Right needed a better way to validate performance without micromanagement, while confident in their teams. Everybody is confident in their teams, right? We all love our team members. We all feel that yes, they are the best. Otherwise, how would you run a company? They lacked real-time insights into work patterns and had no tools to support employee accountability or spot inefficiencies. What was the impact? The impact was time wastages from unclear productivity trends, no personal benchmarks for employees to improve, lack of visibility into team wide time usage, and delayed tasks and reduced workflow efficiency. Solution: personal dashboards for self monitoring. So there are two variants. One is silent, one is interactive. And interactive, employees can see their own information. It helps them to see their information, find the gaps, and then self improve onto what exactly can be done. Transparent time and activity tracking, clear visibility into workflows and productivity, empowered employees to manage their own time effectively. When you have your information, when I as an employee have information or access to my information, it is very easy for me to find the gaps and improve on my own rather than waiting for manager to come and tell me, oh, this is where your time is getting wasted, or this is what you should be doing so that it gets a better result. So having a visibility is absolutely crucial, not only for the employers, but also for the employees. Benefits: 20% reduction in time wastages, 15% increase in one-time task completion, 1 or 2 hours a day saved by avoiding distractions each person, improved accountability and independent productivity. What do they have to say? So they have to say that TimeChamp has notably improved our work quality and team productivity. We'd rate it 9 out of 10 and highly recommend it to others in our industry. Build right. This is what they say. Moving back, okay, and there is one slide which I skipped because I wanted to take you to this and then take you back. Let's look at this. What are the outcomes and advantages? The outcomes and advantages are 25% gain in productivity and efficiency, reduced idle time, sharper task engagement, improved team accountability, and faster project completion. Why I skipped deliberately is because I wanted to take you to the first case study and show you a relevant thing and then move on. Let's move to the next case study called as Cascade, a company. Cascade faced major operational hurdles while managing a large hybrid workforce. The bigger challenge was the absence of reliable system to monitor productivity, track idle time, and maintain accountability across teams. Impact of the problem: lack of visibility into daily work, inability to track idle versus active time, inaccurate attendance and manual errors, delays and inefficiencies in team output. Now, what was the solution that we provided? Real time tracking of activity and idle time, suspicious activity alerts for fraud detection, automated attendance and timesheets, custom reports without micromanagement, and efficient project management. Benefits: 25% increase in team productivity, reduced idle hours across departments, accurate time and attendance tracking with less admin work, and improved team efficiency with fewer bottlenecks. What they have to say about TimeChamp: managing remote employees is not easy. With TimeChamp, the custom reports is now easy. With TimeChamp, the custom reports are a lifesaver, helping us identify areas of improvement. How does that help? That helps because we at TimeChamp believe in empowering the customers, giving them more, not restricting them and saying that, okay, for this you have to pay more. We let them create their own custom reports to a certain extent, unless they are very, very complicated. I doubt anybody else does, but we enable the customers to go ahead and have more flexibility within the tool that helps them to gain some more, advantage of using a tool like TimeChamp. Again, one more. Let's look at one more before we move on to the questions and answers. Max Solutions. The problem that Max Solutions had was they struggled to manage its hybrid workforce efficiently. The main challenge was the lack of real time visibility into team activities, which made it difficult to track productivity, spot idle time, and ensure accountability across departments. Impact: poor visibility into workflows, inability to track idle time or working hours, low accountability in remote teams, difficulty in reviewing team performance. Now, what was the solution that TimeChamp gave? The solution is automated attendance and real time activity tracking, regular screenshots, captures, and live screen monitoring, weekly reports with application and website usage data, visual logs, and productivity summaries for clear oversight. Benefits: reduced idle time across hybrid teams, boosted productivity by over 20%, improved accountability and with regular activity insights, and objective performance tracking with detailed reports. The impact, bigger impact that they have to say is: before TimeChamp, we lacked visibility into team activity, making planning and reviews difficult. With real time insights, we improved the time management and reduced idle hours. Now, this is a sample size of 3 case studies that we've shared today. But we have about 1,100 customers spread across 127 countries. Having big companies with us, small companies with us, and medium sized companies with us, trusting us fully with their data, with the information that they get, and the reports that they can access. They completely turn that particular negative mindset to a proper mindset or a positive mindset because now they have access to the reports. to the data. And that is how TimeChamp becomes one unified, centralized source of truth for the organizations. And we also can go ahead and integrate with more than 80 applications across the world, and which ensures that you are not left out and you're not, compelled to use multiple tools for multiple things. Along with that, we can also do integrations with open APIs. Now, looking at your participation to check if there are any questions that you may have and any answers that you are seeking for. So I would invite now to go ahead and start sharing any of your questions that you may have, and I'll proceed towards getting them answered one by one. The forum is open. Thank you. So the first question that I have is from Shabana Sheikh. So Shabana wants to ask that can I monitor idle time for my employees who are using dual monitors? Yes, you can. TimeChamp ensures that all the activity that is happening within the active window is being taken care of. It's been monitored. And if in case there are dual monitors, whenever any activity that happens on another monitor or the other monitor, will be monitored, and if in case there is nothing happening, it will turn out into the idle time and it will give you that visibility. Somebody who's anonymously asking a question is, if another employee clicks when the idle timer appears, how can we accurately calculate idle time in that case? Another employee clicks. I'm so sorry, I couldn't understand this question very clearly. I'll park it. And if you can share your email ID or something with us, we will be in a position to share the response with you. Or else you can ask this question again with a little bit of more clarity. Are you talking about in office setup, and how are you actually trying to mention? And then there is Venkat Krishna who's asking another question. That is there a way to customize alerts when idle time exceeds a certain threshold, especially for teams working on tight KPIs? Yes, you can. Then there is Guna Lakshmi who's asking about what is the difference between idle time and break time. Okay, so let me explain. Break is what all the employees deserve. Okay. As per law, legally, there is no company who can restrict an employee from taking a break. Okay. You need to take a break. We all need to, right? We are all humans. We are not cattles. So that is where break time is absolutely necessary, while idle time is a leisure time. I'm talking to you now. I get a call from on my mobile phone. I get a message on my LinkedIn or maybe some other social media. I start looking at it, and I'm not talking to you for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That is idle time. While doing some work, if I'm engaged into an activity which is not work related, is idle time because I'm not actually concentrating on the work related thing. Plus, I'm sitting and thinking, procrastinating, assuming, and not actively engaging with my work is idle time. So that is the difference between both. Okay. Then we have Lakshmi asking a question, which is sometimes the system might go idle because of technical issues. Is there a way in TimeChamp to identify or track that kind of idle time separately? Yes, there is a section of events which is going to give you that insight that why did it go on idle for a certain period of time. Then, and you can also, as an employee, if you are using the interactive, version of the tool, you can go ahead and you can apply for that time to be added into your daily sheet. Okay. Taslim has a question that can TimeChamp send real time alerts to managers when idle time goes over the limit? Yes. Again, Venkat Krishna has another question. From a sales management perspective, how can I distinguish between productive idle time, like planning or thinking, versus unproductive idle time using TimeChamp? Now, thinking is a very vague thought. I may think of elephant, I may think of a lizard on the wall, and while I'm also thinking about how do I complete my work today. So thinking is something that not time champ, but nobody can track. However, if you are working on a tool which is work related and you are having idle time, then it is a idle time which is happening even on work related or non work related thing. However, if you're reading a particular message before sending it to anybody, if you're proofreading thing, if you're going through an article to improve your understanding on something, that cannot be called as non-productive. Okay, so that's the difference. Then the next is, how do I get alerts when someone is using suspicious activities such as pressing keyboard or keeping mouse over a analog watch? Okay, so there are times when so you can connect with us in a detailed manner. We can explain you that what are the ways we can arrest or we can inform about suspicious activities that people do. We also can inform you that how many times a key is been or keyboard has been pressed or clicks have been made. We cannot tell you that which key specifically. We don't go till that extent, but we can tell you that how many times our keys been pressed or clicks have been made. So that can help us. So we can engage with you, Naresh Kumarji, and we can talk about it. Then we have Lokia Penna, who's asking about how can we identify that employee is faking their presence. Okay, so there are ways that you can identify. So I may there are simple things. Okay, so if I'm really actively working on the computer, I will be active, and you can see my activity benchmarks, that how active am I. So while I was sharing the presentation, you might have seen that we have activity levels which talks about how much active am I on my system, right? And faking is like, I'm not on my system, I'm doing something else. Every now and then I just come, I move my cursor, or I click something, or I press a button and then go away. So you can see that rhythm, you can see that pattern that Divyanshu is not actively working. So that is where you can identify. So you can see all that information on TimeChamp. Bhavya is asking, in hybrid or remote work setup, can we calculate idle time accurately? Yes, you can. It is irrelevant to hybrid, remote, or maybe, working from office. You can absolutely go ahead and you can have that particular, question, that monitoring happening. Then we have a question from Chamika, which says that how can an organization know if an employee is going through burnout? Very good question, and very interesting, because this is a big issue. So how can an organization know is on the dashboard itself, you can see work versus life balance onto TimeChamp. And what would happen is you will see for a certain period of time, a week, month, date range, you can select whatever you want to, and you can see that what is the time that a person has been exceeding their working hours consistently. And if it is consistently happening, further, the manager, if you're my manager and you see that I'm consistently exceeding it, you can actually dig in a little and understand that what could be the causes. And that's where you can actually understand the burnout issues that I may be facing. The next is, can my employees see their own idle time and activity? Yes, of course. There are two versions, as I mentioned, silent and interactive. In interactive, they can see their own information. Completely depends upon you as an organization if you would like them to have the visibility. Yes. Then there is Hassan asking a question called as, can TimeChamp's productivity score be linked to incentives or gamified targets for sales teams? Depends on the organization. If you would like to do that, you can easily do that. So all the reports are downloadable. You can see the reports, you can see the dashboard, and you can do that based on your organization policies. You can link it up for the incentives. The next question is it possible to disable idle time tracking for some applications from Time Champ? Like if someone watching training videos or someone in some communication platforms like meetings, can I disable idle time tracking only for that application? Okay, so what you can do is you can still see idle time. Okay, but when you see idle time, you can see whether this idle time is on the productive websites or applications or non-productive websites and applications, and which websites and applications are they. So if this is the Teams meeting, if you see a Teams meeting having idle time, then you can also see that what kind of a meeting was that. Okay. So within that, how much was the idle time? But to give you more precise answer to this particular thing, we may need to think from the other angle so we can connect and we can discuss about it. The next question is from Mr. Gandhi, says, does the tool differentiate between productive idle time, example, reading a document, and actual unproductive time? It can give you those analysis. It can tell you that where exactly is the idle time happening. Is it on a email? Is it on a for an instance, X, or that is Twitter, or maybe some other application. So you can then see a little bit in the deeper side that whether this is related to productivity or not. Okay. Just like this one, explaining once again, you're in a meeting and you are not doing a lot of talking, you're listening. Is it, and you still are having no activity happening, but you're in a meeting, idle or not idle? It is still idle, but is it productive or non-productive? It is productive because you're in a meeting. So the manager can decide whether this is productive or not productive. And then goes into what best practices do you suggest for using idle time data during one-on-one performance reviews with underperforming team members? Uh, a little bit of a tricky one because it completely depends upon the organizations and managers how would they like to use it. But if I have to manage anybody and I have to give a performance review based on that, I would only highlight on certain idle time which is beyond a certain limit, because as humans, let me clarify, as humans we all will have some of the other idle time. It is impossible to have no idle time at all, right? So only a machine can work 24 by 7 nonstop, and even it needs some kind of recharge, right? So we as humans will always have idle time. This idle time, as I mentioned, it's elephant in the room in the start, because there are always misconceptions around it. But yes, we can do this kind of a review whenever you can use it for the review. What is the difference between break time and idle time of an employee? We already discussed it. It's just a repetition. Can TimeChamp give insights on which specific tools or tasks are causing delays or distractions in the sales workflow? Yes, you can see all the websites and applications which are there in certain there which are being accessed by your team members, and you can easily see whether they are work related, non-work related. You can in fact go till the extent of tagging themselves yourself onto them, and it's pretty easy. Okay. I'm taking last two questions. One is from Anonymous, which says, how is idle time treated when the user is on video calls or presentations? Again, I have answered this in the past. I'll answer it once again. If you're my manager and I'm on, video calls or presentations, and you want to see that, where is the idle time on by Divyanshu, you can actually see that which was the application that I was on to and what was the meeting that I was on to. You cannot see the content inside. Okay. But you can see the title of the meeting. So you can see that I was on this webinar and there was an idle time. Both my hands are in the air. So this is idle time. However, this is productive idle time. So as a manager, as a employer, it is on you how you decide and how you perceive that information. The last question for the day, and then we will take other questions one by one on an email or etc. Can the software differentiate between screen idle and genuine field work, especially for sales roles that involve external meetings or calls? So we have another module, and this particular module is about field staff tracking, and we definitely can do that. So once you have any kind of a need for that, we will engage and we can provide you that information. So that module can be like, if I'm working on system, you're working on field, you are having that field tracking, and I have system tracking, so you can see that as well. On the interactive, if you are not on your system anymore, you're going somewhere for a meeting outside the office or outside your home, visiting a customer, you have all the options to have that particular thing mentioned into your away time, as in selecting that particular thing. So your management, the employers, can go ahead and do those kind of settings wherein they can select team wise, individual wise, or entire organization wise what are the reasons that people can go away from the system, and then they can also see at the end that what is the major reason for people going away from the system. All right. So this is it. I would like to, break this and say that okay, this is it. We we have answered what around 16 to 17 questions, and any other questions. I know there are a couple of them which we need to discuss a little bit because they are a little vague, and I just don't want to give you some information which needs a little bit of more clarity from your side and our side, so we can connect. And I really appreciate all of you taking your time out into engaging with us, listening to us, and ensuring that you understand a little bit more on Time Champ and also understanding a little bit more on to idle time, which is, I again call it as the elephant in the room. Good elephant, not bad one, but it always needs some clarity. If you still have questions, feel free to get in touch. We will definitely be getting in touch with you with the recording and with the information onto the webinar. Any other questions? Any other things? Any feedback you would like to share? Please feel free to do that. You can get in touch with us on, oh, so sorry. You can actually get in touch with us on the emails. Okay. Email. You can book a demo. You can call us at any of the numbers and share your feedback. What you liked, what you disliked, how can we improve? What next would you like to see? How would you like us to present next time? You can share anything that you feel like. We are open for it. Okay. So reach out to us and we can engage further. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you for joining in. Bye bye.